During his testimony 1 week ago, Mr. MacDonald said the following, quote, I believe Mr. Mendicino was not happy. Mr. Mendicino wasn't there when ArriveScam kicked off and when all of this was going on, but there was a lot of news about ArriveScam. Min was worried that either he or Jonathan Moore were going to get fired. So he was talking about somebody's head on a platter. And he said because Jonathan Moore had made a whole bunch of mistakes from an accounting perspective, talking about how much ArriveScam cost, it would go his way or it could go Mr. Doan's way because Mr. Doan was the CIO at the time. Then he turned. We were on the phone, but he stopped the conversation and he just said, you know, Cam, if I have to, I'm going to tell the committee that it was you. End of quote. Mr. Doan, in that section of his testimony, was Mr. MacDonald telling the truth?
Merci pour la question.
Thank you for the question. I didn't brief Minister Mendicino on this issue. As I said, last year, there were no allegations.
I'm going to jump in there. I asked you a very simple question, and we've had you for almost 2 hours, and you've struggled to give direct answers to simple questions. And I'm not going to go off this one. In that section of his testimony, was Mr. MacDonald being truthful, yes or no?
Thank you for the question. I am under oath, so yes, I am being very careful about my statements because I'm under oath. I understand what.
But you still have an obligation to answer questions before a parliamentary committee. You have an obligation to answer those questions, sir, and not doing so is contempt of Parliament. Again, were Mr. MacDonald's statements truthful, yes or no?
Thank you for the question. I am trying to answer the question. So there are different elements of that quote that you read to me that in terms of what is truthful, in terms of what is engaging.
Were some elements of that quote untruthful then?
Last year, nobody was looking.
Are there any elements of that quote, sir, that are not accurate?
I can get that in writing. Can you repeat the quote for me?
Sir, the quotation, I have limited time, and the quotation was directly from Mr. MacDonald's testimony. You heard it. Was
Mr. Generous, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Please repeat the quote. I will allow the extra time. And Mr. Doan, I'm going to just read from you, right from witnesses, for swearing of witnesses, procedure and practice. It states, refusal to answer questions or failure to reply may result in a charge of contempt. This has been repeated to you several times today. There have been a lot of direct questions, and I normally don't do this, but there have been very specific questions, and we'd like very specific answers. Taxpayers deserve that. Canadians deserve that. Parliament deserves that. Mr. Generous, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
In that section of his testimony, sir, was Mr. MacDonald being fully truthful? Yes or no?
Thank you for the question. No.